We are back, guys. So I'm underneath a 9th gen. These guys are from Minnesota. They've actually been here before. I did a YouTube video prior. They had chicken nuggets in the car, so look for that video on YouTube. We're just doing the pre-inspection as we usually do. If you watched me before, then you know all about this. If you have not, then basically before a dyno tune, I go over the whole car to a point. Car's up in the air, and basically we set it up. It's got our dyno wideband in it, so that's going to be feeding the dyno. And while it's up in the air, we take a look at everything. One thing I noticed was the oil drain line is actually resting on the dump tube. This sleeve was pulled down a little bit, so I pushed it up. Before here, he did have an exhaust leak on the manifold, and you can see that he fixed it up to a point. You really don't want to use all that RTV. It's not necessary. If it's not sealing up, most likely the turbo manifold or the header or whatever is warped, or has been warped or not torqued down properly. So we got a couple little oil leaks. Nothing out of the norm that we see. Go over some of the suspension stuff that we can see. Make sure we don't see any loose bolts. Got the AC dripping today. It's a hot one. Expected to be 97 degrees. So we're gonna take this one slow. Shooting for some big power on this one. Got a little bit of a trans leak there. Looks like the case has been opened before. That RTV that you see right there is not OEM. Got we got a loose bolt right there. I'm gonna try to tighten that up just for them. Not gonna charge. The other thing too, you see right here, that oil line is resting on that bolt. That is not good. Trying to look at myself and look at it myself and focus the camera. Sooner or later, that will rub away and drain your oil. So we'll get this one lowered down and get it all set up and go from there, guys. So one thing to keep in mind, and it's all the fans are on. I got my headphones on, so sorry if I'm yelling. It's 94 degrees right now. When I first started, which was about 15 minutes ago, it was 91 degrees. Temperature is going to be a huge factor today. I already spoke to the customer about it. What you're going to see in between on these videos, sometimes the hood's going to be open, sometimes it's going to be closed. I want to simulate the most, I want to replicate driving conditions, and of course you're not driving with the hood open. So right now I can look at the intake air temps, I could shut the hood, and I could also see what the difference is going to be. So keep in mind, little stuff like that all plays a part in the tune, and I try to simulate real world conditions, because that's how you're going to be driving it. You're not driving on the dyno 24/7, of course. Okay, so I got the window up here. It's hot. It is now 98 degrees on the dyno. I'll hop out. We're making real good power. We're at 10 PSI. We're making 434 horsepower. The biggest thing, and before he came down, we were going to make a change to the injectors. They didn't get here in time. So we knew we were going to pretty much max out the injector. I upped the fuel pressure. But there's to a point, you know, if you're not familiar with fueling systems, you know, fuel pumps, injectors, there's to a point where you just can't keep maxing the pressure. Injectors don't like that, neither does the pump ultimately. So we had the fuel PSI pretty high. The car didn't like it. I turned it down, got a little bit better. So, you know, as you're turning the fuel pressure down, the duty cycle, of course, on the injector is going to go up. And the last thing you want to have happen is you do not want the injector, as I call it, pretty much to fall off that edge where you're maxing the injector out and the injector is fully maxed out, and then you fall off that ledge and the car goes lean. You don't want that to happen. It's not good. So ultimately, I'm going to lower the fuel pressure a little bit lower. Seems like the car just does not like where the fuel pressure is at right now. Making real good power, like I said, though. There's plenty left in it, but we're going to have an issue with the fuel system. He also has a smaller pump in it. We don't run the pump that he has in there. We run he's got the DW pump in there. We're not a fan of the DW pump. We've seen a lot of issues with the pump and the product itself. We like to run the AEM pump. It is also a tad bit bigger. So, you know, the biggest thing is he came in for the retune. He fixed some stuff. He's still got an exhaust leak too. I don't know where it's coming from. Doesn't seem like it's before the O2 sensor because my readings are pretty exact. But it does seem like he has something going on still with the exhaust. You know, and it almost seems like it changed notes a little bit while tuning it and while making more power. You know, I do wear these, but at the same time, they're not 100% soundproof, and I can still hear the tone of the motor and the exhaust when something changes. Besides that, guys, it's hot. I'm gonna open back this window. You could probably see me as I just did, just to take a long, deep breath. I'm gonna go get some water, gonna let the car cool down. We're pretty much where we're at. I'm happy with the power right now. I actually thought we were gonna make a little bit less. We're setting up the Cortex boost by gear as well on this car. He had it wired in. I'm gonna set that up on the dyno as well. I'm gonna keep these videos flowing. I just did another Cortex boost by gear setup. Awesome setup, works perfect, especially on these cars. Besides that, guys, as I always say, in between, probably gonna say it again, you got questions, you got comments, hit me up. I'll try my best to answer them. If you got questions about a build you're doing and you want to go through us, or if you want us to provide the parts, we have no issue with sitting on the phone, answering emails back and forth to help you in the right direction. Air compressor just kicked on. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna open the window and get some fresh air. Okay, so what I wanted to show you there was I was raising the fuel pressure and I was lowering it. As you saw, when I was raising it, the gauge started to bounce all over the place. You know, this raises questions. Well, you know, is the gauge maybe just not, you know, correct? Maybe it's a gauge issue. But the other thing you got to consider is as I'm raising pressure, as I said, I'm noticing the car doesn't like it. So I'm going to say something's going on. The other thing I noticed is this car takes about 2 tries, at least 2 tries, sometimes 3 tries just to crank over and catch. Now these injectors ain't big at all. I've tuned plenty of cars with way larger injectors, and I've tuned plenty of these 9th gen Civics. This car shouldn't have an issue like that, which also raises an eyebrow. Is something going on with the fuel pump install? You know, there's other stuff too. The vacuum line for the fuel pressure regulator, it's going, it's teed into the blow-off valve as well, which you always want a separate source for the fuel pressure regulator. That's my rule of thumb. You know, and the other stuff too is it seems like it's a homemade setup. So the guy did a lot of stuff himself. I'm not knocking that at all. It just, you have to take all that in consideration. So I'm going to ultimately tell him he should look a little bit deeper into the fuel system. The car is on e85, if I didn't mention before. You know, maybe he didn't set up the pump correctly. Maybe the car sat for a while with e85 in it. Something got clogged or corroded. But when you're dealing with a fuel system, it only takes one minor little issue to cause something very big. If you're starving a motor up at 7,000 RPMs, you know, or higher, you know, you might not get another chance. It might be, you know, a goodbye motor. So a lot of that stuff is very, very important. I pay attention to stuff like that. He's going to get notes because like I said, I mean, it's, you know, it could be one pull, you lean out, boom, you're done. So very, very, very serious to me. The other thing too, you know, like I said, I'm gonna hop out, I'll show you guys the dyno sheet. I think we're pretty much gonna be maxed at that power right now because I'm gonna get the fuel pressure down a little bit. You know, the other stuff is wiring. You mentioned when you first dropped the car off, the wiring underneath the dash for the boost by gear, it stopped working, it popped the fuse. All that stuff's important. You know, if it's not up to par, you know, fuel injector wiring, the pump wiring, it will have an effect on the system. So when I get out of here, you know, I can show the wiring probably underneath the dash. It's not pretty. And like I said, it's not to make anyone feel bad, but it all comes hand in hand. You know, just because the car's running on the street, just because the car might be building boost on the street, doesn't mean when it goes on the dyno, it's going to be 100%. So we do have a checklist. If you're not familiar with us, you know, you can email us. We'll send you a dyno checklist. It's about 4 pages long, and it gives you recommendations what to look for. You know, some stuff is very common. You know, is your car leaking oil? Is your car leaking coolant? No exposed electrical connectors. Stuff like that does seem common, but we have seen it before. So shoot us an email, we'll send that to you. I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna do a couple videos with the pool, and I might wait till tomorrow morning to do the dyno stuff because we got all the outside stuff, because it is loud out there. It's hot, and you can see I'm sweating. That's about it, guys. I wanted to just show you that little fueling stuff. Hopefully that maybe a light bulb went off in your head or something. Maybe it helps you out. Good morning. So I actually forgot to get the dyno sheet. And this is the highest horsepower we made, 434, max torque 335. And I actually have the temperature of that run in that pool, so 97 degrees during that pool. So stuff to consider, how hot it is. And I forgot to actually do the dyno sheet, so it is next week already. Forgot to do the dyno sheet last week, and it was hot. It was hot all week. When you're sitting in these cars and your arms are sweating, that's how you know kind of how hot it gets, man. If you work in this field or work outside, then you know all about that.